Well, a recent article in Entrepreneur magazine encouraged those looking to start a business to go into the lucrative special events business. Surely there are too many events organizers already. Is there even enough business for the guys who are in existence? This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield, and tonight I'll find out from Brad Adler, who's the chairman of Octonorm, and Albert Kruger, chief executive of Contemporary Events, where the South Africa's special events industry holds promise for budding entrepreneurs. Just how big a slice of the pie do we have of the global events industry? Because it's huge globally. Incentives and events and conferences and parties and jalls and gatherings, Brad.
Well, there's no official research into this, but we've done independent guesstimates, and we are at probably about 20 billion.
20 million or billion?
Billion,
I'm hoping so. So we get 20 billion of a pie that is how big? 500 billion or thereabouts?
According to the article, it was 500 billion. Yeah.
$500 billion worth of global business. How much of that do you get, Albert?
A significantly smaller portion of that.
Even though you're wearing a lovely check jacket and a very nice bow tie, it doesn't allow you to swing on your chair, though. Do you allow people to do your events to swing on chairs?
Well, they actually do. They take centerpieces off tables, believe it or not.
but how much of that pie do you have?
So we're at about 40 million, so we're significantly smaller end of that overall
But you do
portion.
something like, what, 300 events a year?
320 events that we're standing on right now, yes.
How on earth does one entity, one company, pull off 300 events in a year?
Well,
That's
we're
one
actually,
a day, almost.
Pretty much, yes. So basically what we're doing is we've got 4 companies and they individually run their own events as well. So in terms of the corporate eventing, we do the overall amounts as well, but we have a catering company that does their own small events, food only, and a decor company that does decor only as well.
But you try and book space at the Sandton Convention Centre. You better be, it's a little bit like trying to book Skukuza in the Kruger Park. You've got to get in a year in advance, probably, maybe even longer. Sun City is booming from an events perspective because it's one of the few places where you can have 1,500 people in the Super Bowl. Cape Town Convention Centre is expanding. Durban ICC is in huge demand. It suggests that the visionaries who built these properties 15 years ago, and for Sol Kerzner, had good foresight.
Definitely. And year on year, we've seen an increase in exhibitions, particularly not only local exhibitions, but a lot of internationals are coming to South Africa, franchising their exhibitions. So we're truly becoming a gateway to Africa.
Is there a connection, Albert, between the economic growth, which we're likely to see this year, and the boom that you guys are seeing, and the huge demand that you're seeing in conferencing and events?
Most definitely. I think one of the biggest things that we're not taking into consideration, for example, is golfing tours. We've got a huge influx of tourism flying into South Africa, specifically good work being done by Legend Golf and Safari Resort with the Extreme 19th. This is one of the biggest things in the international market right now. So we taking into consideration exhibitions and events, etc. But that is a spin-off of some really great groups that are coming in specifically for the destination of golfing.
Okay, so how much of what we're seeing then in terms of this conferencing, this eventing business is international versus local? 80 local, 20% global?
Less than that.
Less than 20% international?
Definitely.
I mean, but that also is a problem because we've got a location problem in that we are a million miles from people who like to have fun.
Look, I think it is an interesting aspect. We are seeing, from a perspective of being a gateway to Africa, a lot of our organisers report that the increase in African visitors coming to South Africa for exhibitions has increased dramatically over the last couple of years. So we have got a very important place on the African continent, if not the Southern Hemisphere.
Do we have appropriate, adequate infrastructure for this industry to grow at 5, 6, 10% a year?
Most definitely. We have the most amazing suppliers that really are gearing themselves for the growth. What we are finding, however, is that most of our corporates with the national footprint and international footprint is forcing everybody to look Africa, northwards, and forcing everybody to actually start looking at eventing in Africa.
Okay, and is that a growth market for you?
For sure. We all are forced to have a look at the whole of the African continent, from South Africa straight upwards.
What's the biggest event you've done outside of South Africa on this continent?
We're looking, well, the last one we did was for 200 in Botswana.
Okay, and that's nice and close. That's
that was
easy.
nice and close.
You've got road connections, you can get stuff in and out by road.
Border control's a nightmare though.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
5 days standing time.
which is a bit of a disincentive.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we got some SADC work to do on that particular
for
front.
sure.
When you look at it, Brad, the African continent opportunity?
Yeah, definitely. Some of our other associations, which also are in the eventing industry, are looking at chapters in Africa, Botswana, Nigeria, Ghana. Botswana, particularly Tanzania, are definite growth markets. And again, I think it comes down to infrastructure. Once exhibition halls or venues are built, the exhibitions take place and events take place fairly often. Quite often.
Okay, so there is need, there's desire, there's demand, there's a requirement, there is the infrastructure. How then do we make ourselves more attractive to get the split between local and foreign, sort of more foreigners coming in and using our facilities?
It's a tough one. I think a lot of foreigners are coming, and
we need to get the charter flights in. We need to get that sort of stuff going.
What's interesting is that I think there is an amount of research that is going into this particular aspect at the moment. And what I would say is that there needs to be an incentive from certain government organisations, even the venues, to incentivise.
How important is government in the eventing space? I mean, one looks at the Generations actors who were very grumpy that they were only allowed to do government-type events, and they were terribly busy doing government-type events. Government loves to cut ribbons and open envelopes and do all of that sort of stuff. Are they crucial to this particular growth in this industry?
I would say not as much as people would like them to think. They are spending much less on events as they were previously. What we found, though, is that government is really integral in policing the industry really very nicely with the new Health and Safety Act, the Sports and Recreation Act, where health and safety is being policed.
Aren't they over-regulating you?
They are to a certain extent. You'd think that some of the rules are quite silly, but you can understand that there are a few clowns out there that don't think for themselves. So to a certain degree, we're thankful for that because we don't have as many incidents as we've had in the past. So in that instance, I'd say kudos to them. They're doing a really good job at significantly in Joburg and Gauteng. I mean, but you can talk about that as well.
Why aren't you guys using the World Cup infrastructure more effectively? Why are football stadiums used for football only? And a couple of music concerts, come off to FNB Stadium and not much else.
Well, I think a lot of the stadium are being used as festival type of venues at the moment. If you look at, and this is also an interesting aspect around events, they're not events and exhibitions. They're not just static anymore. They're becoming hybrid type things. And the location is almost becoming, one of the places where you can host it is at a football stadium, or Durban Stadium, for instance, hosts Top Gear, which is a phenomenal success, and that's
once a year, 3 days. What about the other 362 and a half?
Concerts,
but
lifestyle type events.
But we have the facilities, we have all of these spaces which are not being adequately utilised. Did the World Cup help at all in terms of boosting the eventing industry in South Africa? Certainly we had an explosion of hotel rooms. Gradually you begin to see occupancy rates across hotel groups pick up back to the 60% once again, but we're still a long way off the pre-World Cup sort of 80% occupancies before all of this new capacity came on stream.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we found with the World Cup specifically is the infrastructure that we have is not being utilised, as you very nicely put, but also a very few companies really got the opportunity to really leverage off it themselves. So we did a very small approach with FNB. We did all of their hosting and transporting guests to the Rustenburg Stadium, etc. But I think all of us hoped that it would be much bigger than it was that time. But now we have great infrastructure that we should be making more use of.
Do we need another catalyst? Do we need Durban to get the Commonwealth Games? I think they're going for 2022 or thereabouts.
Sure, or the Olympics.
Let's do one step at a time. We've done the World Cup, we did good. Let's do Commonwealth Games next, and let's go 2026, I think it is, or 28. Olympics, perhaps we can put in a pitch for those. But do we need those sort of global showcases? Are those useful as billboards for us?
Definitely. I think also what the World Cup did do is it exposed the local service providers to international standards, and without a doubt our local service guys and venues organisers really shone. I definitely do think they do shone. But coming back to your question, we do need something. There is quite a few international exhibitions and events coming to South Africa that the cities of Durban or Johannesburg are tendering on. For instance, in Durban, we have airports or routes coming to Durban, which is an exhibition representing the airline industry, which is an amazing event, attracting a couple of thousand visitors, exhibitors, etc.
Have they sorted out the parking at King Shaka? I mean, remember the shambles in the World Cup where planes were turned back. I mean, Private Gordon was on one of the planes and sort of sat on the tarmac, and they had to take off and come back to Joburg. We've had a fair amount of logistical hassles, but one looks at the eventing industry in South Africa, one looks at the minuscule scale. We talk about slices of pies. This is a crumb of the pie. We've got scope to grow it.
For sure. I think one of the biggest and most exciting things is that we're moving into a space where innovation is becoming something that we could capitalize on. And as we said, we've got an international showcase. The more innovative we are, we'll always have work.
Is it an industry worth getting into?
Definitely.
Why? What makes it? I could think of nothing worse than the planning and the agony and the ecstasy of the regulation, the security, the bottles of water, the toilet paper, all of the nonsense that you guys have got to think about to make everything look so easy.
Well, I'll answer this. I think no 2 days are the same. And really, there's nothing like the accomplishment of a well-run exhibition event. And really, if you can get that right, it really is a...
And the difference, Albert, between the well-run ones and the rest is significant.
Hugely so. I think what we always say, at a certain point we go over to crisis mode, and it's how quickly we can fix it without anybody noticing.
Absolutely. And if you go to events and they seem completely seamless, that's because you've got guys like Brad Adler, the chairman of Octanorm, and Albert Kruger, the chief executive of Contemporary Events, working away in the background to make it all look absolutely flawless and perfect. It's a huge global industry. South Africa has got but just the tiniest crumb of this particular industry. We've got some challenges. Sure, we're a bit far away from the centres where there are huge incentive tours that happen in the UK from the United States, and more sort of Chinese incentives, Japanese incentives around the globe as well. Hopefully we can get a piece of that pie and grow from a crumb to the upper crust. Thanks for watching. There'll be more tonight, tomorrow. Good night and goodbye.